Leo XIV to read ecumenical service honoring 21st century Christian martyrs. Malawi Electoral Commission begins dispatch of ballot papers to constituencies under tight security. Chakwera's pre-election address draws criticism over timing and voter appeal. And in other news, Nepal's Prime Minister Oli resigns as anti-corruption protests spiral. We do have the details to these and many other stories. Stay tuned. Pope Leo XIV is said to reside at a prayer service to remember the many Christians of our time who have been killed on account of their faith in Christ. The Holy Father will be joined by representatives of other Christian churches and ecclesial communities for an ecumenical commemoration of martyrs and witnesses of the faith of the 21st century, which will take place on the feast of the exaltation of the of the Holy Cross on Sunday, September 14th in the Papal Basilica of St. Paul's outside the walls. We have a Vatican News report read by Tandiwe Mzumara.
The commemoration is spearheaded by the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints and its commission of new martyrs, witnesses to the faith, established by Pope Francis in 2023. The Commission's mission is to identify and preserve the stories of those who have given their lives for Christ in this century and beyond. Speaking to the Ecumenical Joint Working Group of the Catholic Church and the World Council of Churches, Cardinal Kurt Koch, prefect of the Dicastery for Promoting Christian Unity, emphasized that the event will visibly affirm the belief that the Church is already one in the blood of her martyrs. At a press briefing, Archbishop Fabio Fabeni, president of the Commission, highlighted the ecumenical nature of the research, which spans all Christian denominations. He invoked St. John Paul II's phrase, ecumenism of blood, to describe the unity forged through martyrdom. Archbishop Fabeni expressed hope that the sacrifice of these martyrs would become a seed of peace, reconciliation, fraternity, and love. Professor Andrea Riccardi, Vice President of the Commission, mapped out the global landscape of martyrdom, victims of organized crime in the Americas, missionaries killed abroad, persecuted Christians in the Middle East and North Africa, and those targeted in Asia, such as the victims of the 2019 Easter bombing in Sri Lanka. He also pointed to sub-Saharan Africa as the region where Christian martyrdom is most prevalent, citing jihadist violence and ethnic political attacks. Monsignor Marco Navi, Secretary of the Commission, explained that the commemoration will take the form of a liturgy of the word, presided over by Pope Leo, with 24 representatives from various Christian denominations participating. These representatives symbolize a united Christian witness bound by the shared legacy of faith and sacrifice.
The Malawi Electoral Commission makes comments to the dispatch of ballot papers from Kamuzu International Airport in Lilongwe to various constituencies across the country, with the process being carried out under tight security provided by the Malawi Defense Force and the Malawi Police Service. The dispatch of ballot papers began today, Tuesday, September 9th at Kamuzu International Airport in Lilongwe, starting with the country's furthest constituencies, with all stakeholders present to witness the process. More details in this report followed by Gift Kalonga and led in our studios by Fales Chizombe.
After the receipt of ballot papers last week, the Malawi Electoral Commission has started the dispatching of ballot papers process, where all political parties and other stakeholders were present during the process. Speaking during the launch of the exercise, MEC Chairperson Justice Annabel Ntalimanja said the process marks a critical phase ahead of the September 16 elections. She explained that ballot papers were first being dispatched to Chitipa, Karonga, Rumpi, Nkatabe, Likoma, Mzuzu City, as well as southern districts including Nsanje, Chikwawa, Palombe, Mulanje, Tiolo, and Luchenza. Justice Ntalimanja emphasized that once ballot papers are live at tally centers, they will not be sent directly to polling stations until 12 and 13th September. Ntalimanja added that the commission had begun with 60 constituencies and will continue dispatching until all 229 constituencies are covered.
Yes, indeed. After we have taken receipt or delivery of the ballot papers, now we have moved to dispatch thereof to the respective constituencies. We are starting today, and the anticipation is that the exercise will run through to the 11th. The plan is to dispatch to, first of all, to the farthest constituencies. So for today, we are starting with Chitipa, Karonga, that is for both Karonga town and Karonga district, and we'll also do Rumpi, Nkatabe, Ligoma, and Mzuzu City.
Democratic Progressive Party DPP ICT specialist Markford Somanje said that so far so good, except for an area incident during receipt of ballots when 2 boxes were damaged but later resolved. Somanje also stressed the importance of transparency, saying the DPP had deployed monitors across all constituencies to track the movement of the ballots.
The process was okay, except one incident where 2 ballot boxes were damaged, and that issue was resolved. Now this is a different phase. It's a dispatch process, which is very critical in this process, and we have just started. I cannot commit anything to give to you because we have just started and we don't know how it's going to progress.
After speaking with different stakeholders, National Director of Elections in UTM, Bright Kawaga, proposed that before the dispatching, the ballot papers they would all watch warehouse CCTV cameras, and MEC Chair Ntalimanja said that it is very important, but with their time frame, it will be done later. Meanwhile, MEC has informed the stakeholders of a slight adjustment to the program, stating that all vehicles transporting ballot papers will stop dispatching around 5 p.m. and resume the following day, a change from the area plan to operate throughout the night.
President Lazarus Chakwera's recent national address has sparked criticism from political analyst Chimwemwe Tsitsi, who argues that its timing just days before the September 16th elections raises concerns as to whether it serves as a genuine attempt to address national issues or a political maneuver ahead of the elections. Tsitsi suggests the speech could be interpreted as a calculated effort to appeal to voters, portraying the president as empathetic in a period of heightened political sensitivity. Emmanuel Jocha with the details.
In his address, President Chakwera highlighted Malawi's pressing challenges, including fuel shortages and high commodity prices. He also acknowledged efforts by some opposition members to undermine his government, calling attention to potential sabotage aimed at overthrowing his administration. Chimwemwe Tsitsi counters that as the authority figure, Chakwera has the power to take decisive action against underperforming officials. Tsitsi advocates for the president to utilize his position to remove those failing to deliver rather than merely addressing the issues. Tsitsi also praised the government's achievement in reducing fertilizer prices to 90,000 Malawi kwacha, noting this commendable effort comes at a critical time as the country approaches elections.
It is unfortunate if indeed we have saboteurs or people that are sabotaging the government-to-government oil importation deal at Nokma. Much as we do not have the details, and we may speculate that this is just political rhetoric owing to the fact that we are closer to the polling day, and the government may not want to be seen as a failure, but shift the blame to others. it would be very unfortunate for any Malawian to do what has been alleged. People were finding it hard to buy fertilizer beyond the 100,000 kwacha. Now with the introduction of a subsidy that is universal in nature, kind of at 90,000 kwacha, I think this would go a long way in improving agricultural production.
President Jaguara has been at the helm of Malawi's government since June 2020, following a historic election win where he defeated DPP's Peter Mutharika. His presidency has seen various initiatives aimed at economic development and governance reforms. The country's economic challenges, including fuel shortages and commodity price hikes, remain pressing concerns.
UTM presidential candidate Dalitso Kabambe has declared that only a UTM-led government can restore macroeconomic stability and strengthen the Malawi kwacha, arguing that rival parties have no clear plan to rescue the economy from collapse. Speaking on Monday during a rally at Area 36 Kwirigele in Lilongwe, Kabambe said UTM stands apart from all other political parties because its manifesto directly addresses currency appreciation, a move he claimed is key to reducing the cost of living and reviving local industries. More details in this report read by Falex Chizombe.
Kabambe said that under his leadership, the UTM government will take deliberate steps to appreciate the kwacha, much like Zambia and Kenya did, in order to reverse the economic damage caused by weak currency. He noted that during the era of Ngwazi Hastings Mzibanda, when the exchange rate was 1 kwacha to $1, the economy was stable, businesses were booming, and the cost of living was far more affordable. Kabambe blamed the current economic hardships on the kwacha's sharp depreciation, which he said has left most Malawians struggling to survive. He further argued that today's hostile economic environment has forced local industries to shut down, citing companies like David Whitehead and Sons and Butter Shoe Company, as well as examples of businesses that thrived when the currency was strong. Kabambe stressed that appreciating the currency would lower the cost of imports, allow local businesses to thrive again, and lead to job creation in cities like Blantyre, Lilongwe, and Nzuzu. He added that a stronger currency would also enable the government to stretch its limited resources further and deliver more public services and infrastructure development.
Not only is it going to restore macroeconomic stability, but we are going to appreciate our currency. The way Zambians and the Kenyans did by appreciating their currency. We will appreciate the currency for two reasons. One, during Kamu's time, when one kwacha was $1, the cost of living was much lower because the currency was strong at the time. Today, the currency is too weak, and that's why cost of living has gone over the roof and Malawians are suffering.
Taking a swipe at other presidential contenders, Kabambe warned that none of his competitors have outlined a plan to appreciate the kwacha. He accused them of planning further devaluations under the guise of exchange rate arraignment, which he claimed would worsen living conditions. Kabambe warned voters to be cautious about who they support in the upcoming elections, insisting that only UTM offers a credible economic path forward.
The Malawi Prison Service has commended the growing success of its inmate education program following a notable improvement in this year's Malawi School Certificate of Education MSCE results. MPS spokesperson Steve Meke has reported that 80 inmates from various prison facilities sat for the exams, with 55 candidates passing, reflecting a commendable 68.8% pass rate. He has since described the outcome as a positive step toward rehabilitation and reintegration through education. More in this report, followed by Judith Organ and laid in our studios by Andrew Nandolo.
According to spokesperson Steve Meke, the highest score this year was 16 points achieved by candidate from Zomba Central Prison. 3 other top performers from Nzuzu, Maula, and Luntha prisons each earned 18 points. Meke highlighted the steady improvement in performance, noting that the pass rate rose from 52.5 in 2023 to 70.4% in 2024, with previous top scores of 17 and 15 points respectively. He expressed the appreciation for the support provided by government through the Malawi Prison Service, along with contribution from various stakeholders. However, Meke also issued a call for more well-wishers and partners to support inmate education, emphasizing its role in rehabilitation.
Out of the 80 candidates who sat for MSc examinations, 55 have passed, and this represents 68.8% pass rate. The good news is that the highest scorer got 16 points and is coming from Zomba Central Prison, followed by 3 candidates who have scored 18 points each and are coming from Nzuzu, Maura, and Luntha prisons, respectively.
This year's exams were administered across several prison stations, including Vumbwe Reformatory, Zomba Prison, Maula Prison, Nzuzu Prison, Luntha Prison, and Nzuzu Female Prison.
If you've just joined us, I know that you're watching news on Luntha television. Now a reminder of the top stories. Pope Leo XIV to read ecumenical service honoring 21st century Christian martyrs. Malawi Electoral Commission begins dispatch of ballot papers to constituencies under tight security. Chakwera's pre-election address draws criticism over timing and voter appeal. And in other news, Nepal's Prime Minister Oli resigns as anti-corruption protests spiral. Moving on with the news, monitors representing political parties and independent female candidates in Malaga district have received specialized training to enhance their effectiveness during the upcoming elections. Speaking on September 9, 2025, Unande Banda, representing the National Election System Trust, NEST, under the NGO Gender Coordination Network, emphasized the importance of equipping monitors with the right skills, noting that monitors play a vital role in safeguarding the integrity of elections, and it is essential they are well prepared. Andrew Nandoro has found this report.
With just 7 days to Malawi's general elections, NGO Gender Coordination Network, NGO GCN, has conducted a training session in Balaka district aimed at equipping election monitors with the skills necessary to ensure fair, credible, and transparent polls, particularly in support of female candidates. Unandi Banda, representing the National Election System Trust, NEST, emphasized the importance of monitors in safeguarding the integrity of the electoral process.
It has pleased the Gender Coordination Network to share some skills with the would-be monitors, so that wherever they are going to monitor on behalf of candidates, women candidates, they should be real monitors. They should follow the laws of Malawi. They should be there as eyes and ears of the candidates who have sent them to do the monitoring at the different polling stations.
One of the participants, Mpaso Kambanizite, a monitor from Ulongwe, described the training as timely and empowering. Kambanizite also praised the NGO GCN for promoting women's participation in politics, noting that increased number of women representation would lead to meaningful development in local communities.
tsiku limene lili dziwisidwa kuti tikuyenera kukhala maso athu kuyang'anitsira pa cholinga chimene tabwera pamalopa kuthandizira anthu akudera kuti athe kuvota moyenerera, cholinga chotenera kuti zotsatira za chisankho aliyense amene waluza komanso amene wawina akathe kuchivomereza kudzera mwa ife mamonita.
Neria Balaleya, an aspiring councillor for Nchengawede Ward, said the training helped identify gaps in monitoring preparedness.
Maphunziro amenewa ndikuwatenga kuti ni maphunziro apamwamba kwambiri komanso azatipindulira chifukwa zikuonesa kuti mamonita samadziwa china chilichonse kuti kodi pamalo votera ngakafike nthawi yanji nanga zoyenera kuchita ndi ziti nanga kakakumana ndi mavuto osiyanasiyana ndi njira ziti zimene wati akatsatire. Ndifukwa cha maphunziro amenewa ndikutha kuona kuti tipindula nawo chifukwa china chilichonse ndiye kuti chikayenda bwino palibe amene atakabese mavoti komanso palibe amene atakapange chosokoneza malinga ndi mmene maphunziro akuyendera.
The training is part of NGO GCN's year-long initiative titled Political Empowerment of Women, which is being implemented in Balaka, Nchisi, Nkatabe and Palombe with support from UN Women. The project runs from November 2024 to October 2025, aiming to strengthen women's political participation in leadership across Malawi. Reporting from Baraka, this is Andrew Nandolo.
UTM Party President Dr. Dalitso Kabamba on Tuesday intensified his Whistle Stop campaign in Lilongwe, attracting massive crowds and consolidating his party's grassroots support ahead of the September elections. During the rally, he also welcomed new members who recently defected from the Malawi Congress Party (MCP). Judith Hogan compiled a report read by Lodrick Kwan.
At Area 24 Market, Dr. Kabambe officially welcomed 3 women who defected from the governing Malawi Congress Party (MCP). One of the defectors, she was motivated by UTM's development-oriented manifesto, which she described as responsive to the needs of ordinary Malawians. Before interacting with people at Area 24 Market, Kabambe was in Area 23, where his tour began. Kabambe promised to tackle the country's economic challenges. He pledged to stabilize and strengthen the Malawi kwacha, which had suffered significant depreciation in recent years, and to implement reforms that will improve livelihoods. His final stop was at Waka Waka Market, where he was greeted warmly by traders. Kabambe, engaging with them directly, made several promises aimed at uplifting small-scale businesses and supporting grassroots development. The Whistle Stop Tour, a campaign strategy involving brief but impactful community engagements, has been central to UTM's efforts to connect with voters across the country.
The news on Nepal's Prime Minister resigned Tuesday following violent protests against a ban on social media platforms and government corruption. Khadga Prasadi Oli said he was stepping down immediately. His resignation came after protesters set fire to the homes of some of Nepal's top political leaders in opposition to a social media ban that was lifted early Tuesday, a day after deadly anti-government protests when police opened fire and killed 19 people. We have an African News report read by Tandiwe Mzumara.
Mass protests swept through Kathmandu and other cities this week following the Nepalese government's controversial ban on major social media platforms. What began as opposition to the restrictions quickly escalated into widespread unrest, fueled by public frustration over corruption and political discontent. On Monday, demonstrators stormed the streets surrounding Parliament and attacking the homes of top political leaders, including President Ramchandra Pradhan, Nepali Congress leader Sher Bahadur Doba, Home Minister Ramesh Rekhak, and Communist Party leader Pushpa Kamal Dahal. A private school owned by Foreign Minister Arzu Dauba Rana, Dauba's wife, was also set ablaze. The government responded with an indefinite curfew in Kathmandu and other cities, and schools were closed. Police opened fire on protesters, resulting in 19 deaths and dozens of injuries. 7 of the deceased were treated at the National Trauma Center, Nepal's main hospital. The social media ban imposed last week targeted platforms like Facebook, X, and YouTube, which had failed to comply with a new law requiring registration and local oversight. The law mandates that companies appoint a liaison office in Nepal, a move critics say is aimed at censorship and silencing dissent. Following the deadly protests, the government lifted the ban on Tuesday. Prime Minister Khadga Prasad Ori announced the formation of an investigation committee to report within 15 days and pledged compensation for victims' families and free treatment for the wounded. Meanwhile, Home Minister Ramesh Rekak resigned during an emergency cabinet meeting. While platforms like TikTok, Viber, and 3 others have complied with the registration rule and continue to operate, tech giants Google, YouTube, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and X have yet to respond to the government's demands. Rights groups warned that the proposed legislation threatens freedom of expression and could be used to target critics of the government. As tensions remain high, Nepal faces a critical moment in balancing digital governance with democratic freedoms.
With the report, we've also come to the end of our today's bulletin, but let's have a recap of the top stories before we go. Pope Leo XIV to read ecumenical service honoring 21st century Christian martyrs. Malawi Electoral Commission begins dispatch of ballot papers to constituencies under tight security. Chakwera's pre-election address draws criticism over timing and voter appeal. And in other news, Nepal's Prime Minister Ori resigns as anti-corruption protests spiral. You have been with me, Charity Lanka. Thanks so much for giving me company, and continue enjoying the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Goodbye.